So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Matt's got his flag up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now for the checklist. This is a checklist to ensure meetings are compliant with the right to know law during the state of emergency. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note there's no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. Meeting ID 939-5343-7848, or by clicking on the following website address: YouTube, www.youtube.com/C/SRSD meeting videos. Anyone wishing to make a public comment concerning items on tonight's agenda, please email the superintendent at tambrose, that's AMBROSE, @sau17.net. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance with each member state their presence. Please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So I'm just going to call the board member names and then everybody else as I see you on my screen. Larry?
I'm in my basement in my workshop. I'm the only one here. My name's Larry Heath.
Dawn?
Dawn Dutton. I am in my home down in the basement, and there is no one down here with me.
And Tammy?
Tammy Mahoney. I'm in an office in my house alone.
Jamie?
Jamie Fitzpatrick, I'm in my home office alone.
And Charlie?
I'm Charlie Melvin, and I'm in my home in my living room by myself.
Pete?
Yeah, I'm in my home. I'm in the dining room, but my wife's in the living room, can hear us.
And I'm in my home in a room and I'm by myself. Tom?
I'm here at the SAU office. Matt Angel's down the hall.
Patty?
Patty Haynes, I'm in my home office alone.
Matt?
Matt Angel, I'm in my office and Tom's down the hall.
And Jake?
I'm in my dad's office alone.
And okay, that's everybody. All right, so let's start with approval of the minutes of August 19th. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Oh, second.
And discussion. I have one addition I'd like to make. On page 13, about a third of the way down the page, it says, under where it says roll call vote, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. I'd like to add that because this explains my no vote, Chair Baker asked the board if the approval of option 1 was with no travel restrictions. And then it continues as it's written, discussion of the fields ensued and travel restrictions / mileage. So I'd just like to add that Chair Baker asked the board if the approval of option 1 was with no travel restrictions. Any additional discussion? And roll call vote. All in favor? Larry?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
And Pete?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jim,
There's another. Yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the 8:12 minutes. That was the one by yourself and myself. Just
Okay.
because it doesn't say that in the minutes, so just to say that at the top of the minutes, this was a special school board meeting for the 2 remaining Newton board members, Jim Baker and Jamie Fitzpatrick. No other board members were present. The meeting was held in the library of the Sanborn Regional School District. The public in attendance, Jim Baker was remote, Jamie Fitzpatrick was in person.
Okay, I'll second that. Jamie? Vote?
Aye.
And myself as an aye. Thank you, Jamie.
Yep, thank you.
Let's see. So the next item is distribution of manifest documents. Matt, are those the ones that went out today?
Yeah, that's correct. And
Okay.
so far I've had 2 approvals for the AP manifest and 3 for the payroll manifest.
Okay, so you need a couple more.
Yes, please.
Okay. Tom, nominations.
Oh, I apologize. I was. Hold on just a sec. Nominations are, we have one, Kevin Walker for a health and wellness teacher at the middle school and high school.
Okay.
Sorry.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. All in favor? Larry?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
And I'm a yes as well. Resignations.
We have one, Jason Gerard, health and wellness teacher at the middle school and high school.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes. And Mr. G, my kids are really going to miss you.
Okay. Tammy?
Yes.
Jamie?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And Pete?
Aye.
All right. Superintendent's report.
All right, so I have 2 reports this evening. One is the number 7.1, which I did want to just acknowledge to the public that I think there's some confusion based on some of the emails we received today. 7.1 on the agenda is the opening of school update. And what that's really about is our normal, every year on the first school board meeting of September, we give an update on the opening of schools. So I'll just be reading a paragraph from each school And just so the public's aware that item is not a discussion item regarding whether or not we're remote or in person. So I didn't receive any emails regarding the agenda for this evening, but I did receive a couple of public comments for the reopening night, and I've contacted those people, and they're either going to come to the meeting if it's in public, or one asked me to keep their letter for the night that we discussed that. So I just wanted to let everyone know that any letter that's been shared with me or the board has been read by everyone. And just remind families that if you email the board and I'm not on the email, they send it to me to respond to you. So thank you for everyone that's been reaching out. We really appreciate it. And we're so glad that people are involved, and happy to read the following letter that kind of will clarify some points for families based on the feedback we've been receiving. So I apologize, this is a little bit long, but I'm going to read this component now, and then I'll read the school part on agenda item 7.1. So there's been a lot going on as we prepare to begin the 2021 school year at Sanborn. Many questions have surfaced about Sanborn's current status of remote instruction and what the district will be doing going forward. This update is designed to help everyone know what's happening and the process for moving forward. So since the development of our reopening plans, we've learned that our insurance company requires us to follow the CDC and DOE guidelines and recommendations. This is a significant shift from the previous belief that these guidelines were suggestions. So I just wanted to mention to everyone that they asked me, well, if it's just a suggestion, do you have to follow it? And the answer is our insurance company is saying, yes, we have to follow those suggestions. On July 29th, the school board made the decision to start the school year in remote instruction based on information available at that time and based on two primary factors: safety protocols and staffing. As part of this decision, staff were required to teach their classes from their classrooms. This decision will be revisited again on or around October 15th. So we've had a number of folks email us asking us to discuss this now. And the reality is that the decision has been made and the change will occur, or a decision will be made about the next step on or before October 15th. On September 1st, the governor unveiled a new model for decision-making for school reopening. This decision matrix combines levels of community transmission and school impact. That's a very important point because that's about staffing. And these are designed to determine a school district's instructional mode. Based on the model proposed by the governor, our district is in the minimal category for the level of community transmission, presence of COVID in our community. But we are in the medium category for the level of school impact based on the staff capacity to conduct classes. Before evaluating all the requests for leave and/or accommodations, we were actually at the critical level for staffing. As of September 2nd, we have 14 approved leave requests and 4 requests in process. It is important for everyone involved to note that this is a significant decrease from the 46 inquiries we received initially. We've worked with the existing staff to cover leave requests in order to run school remotely with teachers working from the buildings at this time. We want to thank the staff for covering classes, working collaboratively, and helping out by going above and beyond during this challenging time. It's important to remember, leave requests are being submitted still daily. We recognize that the low number of COVID cases in our communities is encouraging. However, we have a number of issues that are not related to community transmission of COVID. Based on the governor's model, the number of staff we have available puts us in the strained category. As a district, we want to be clear that the people who have taken leave are those who have serious health conditions and/or circumstances that are beyond their control. This is the most important point of this letter. The district cannot deny these staff members access to leave because the leaves are mandated by federal law. We can't just say no to these leaves. At this point, we're complying with the guidelines set forth by the governor, the Department of Education, and DPHS. I want to give you an update on PPE and protective habits. Protective measures are another area of focus for us during the pandemic. While we have received 300 free face masks from the state for our students to use, in addition to the thousands we have purchased, we are responsible for purchasing additional PPE, personal protective equipment, and cleaning supplies for the district on our own. The CARES Act grant funding that Sanborn received in the spring was used to purchase Chromebooks for our students to use. We have not received any additional funding from the state for the purpose of purchasing PPE or cleaning supplies. We currently have a significant supply of PPE, cleaning supplies, hand sanitizer, and other items that are being stored in preparation for a return to in-person learning. The district business administrator does provide the board with an update on PPE at every meeting, and I believe he will be this evening as well. I just want to give kudos to our administrative team. They've done a fantastic job helping staff settle in during the professional development days. Many staff are becoming more relaxed and comfortable in the buildings. They're also practicing social distancing and the other safety expectations set forth in the reopening plans. So looking ahead, the school board will review all of the variables, staffing levels, PPE supplies, the status of other districts, and available space to allow for 3 to 6 feet of social distancing in our buildings, including the decision matrix and dashboard unveiled by the governor and DPHS yesterday. All of these items will help us make a decision when to transition to the next stage. The Sanborn Regional School District Administration will begin drafting a recommendation to present to the board at the October 7th school board meeting. We've already started having conversations about next steps. Parents have shared that they're concerned about having 2 days of instruction and 3 days of independent learning during the current hybrid model that's in the plan. The administration will be reviewing and recommending hybrid options during the coming weeks. We hear the parents' concerns and we agree with those concerns, so we are looking at different models and options as we prepare for hopefully at least some time of school being in person. And lastly, I just want to say to everyone, the board, but most importantly, the public, I don't want anyone to think that anyone in the administration or the staff doesn't want to be back in school learning in person. We all want that. The process of bringing students back to the schools will need to be measured and deliberate. We anticipate this process will include a transition from remote to cohorts before opening fully. So I appreciate everyone's patience while we figure this out, and we are very optimistic about the lower number of COVID cases in our area. And again, very carefully, safety is paramount to everyone involved in the situation. So I hope this update helped to address some of the concerns and questions related to COVID-19 and our reopening process. And I will be sending out a video of this message. We'll put the letter in the newspaper. We'll be sharing it on Facebook. And in the digital version, there will be some links at the bottom so that people can learn more about the different types of leaves and our reopening plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Okay, so committee reports. I think policy met today, is that right?
Yep.
Can we get
Oh, that's me. Right, I forgot. I'm the
newly installed?
I'm like, oh, policy. That's me. Yes, we did meet today. I was nominated to be the chairperson.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Since Pam has left, and we did definitely give Pam a lot of thanks in our meeting today for all of the work that she has done over the years, especially over the past 3 years, getting us current on everything, keeping us in compliance. So we wanted to just give you another little shout out, Pam. Thank you so very much for all of your hard work, and I hope that I can keep going and we can keep doing things just as well as you were doing them. So. And we didn't really get to talk about a lot because now we're kind of figuring out where we're at. We have to look back at minutes to see if we had to set goals or if we need to set goals. So we're going to do all of our due diligence and have a nice meeting. And I don't know the date yet. I didn't get a chance to look at that.
Great. Thank you. Now, facilities met at before the prior board meeting, and I gave that report. The next facilities meeting is September 16th. I don't know if has ISA met since the last meeting, Tammy?
No, but our next
Okay.
meeting is September 16th, 2 weeks from today.
September 16th.
Mhm.
And Jamie, finance?
Yeah, finance meeting was today. I'll get minutes out after the fact. Reviewed a number of items, the fund balances. Matt informed us that the transfer of funds to fund warrant articles from the last election will happen in this month. So we will see that additional 75,000 and 50,000 going to the funds. We also reviewed the year end estimate closing numbers for FY20. The last review that we had that Matt put up on the screen showed that we were in approximately a 2.3 million unexpended funds or unencumbered funds. And of that, the intent was from the last meeting that we would get $1.8 million to the taxpayers back, and that the balance 516-ish, 518-ish, something like that, would go into withholding, and the 400,000 that was withheld last year will flow as part of that number. And Matt gave an encouraging update that though he's not finished yet, his initial review of the numbers as he's putting them together would say that we're probably going to be north of that 1.8 million. And anything north of that level, seeing as the withholding is already fully maxed out, would be dollar for dollar back to the taxpayers. So we're looking forward to get that update. Matt is targeting having that available for the board meeting on the 16th. And then we talked about the 3 areas that we were kind of focusing on in addition to the normal items that we reviewed. And that was the IT area, the athletics, and the special education areas. And Matt gave us just some commentary on that as we're putting numbers together. And all those will be very well detailed as part of the budgeting process and as we go forward and look at those programs and the funding of those programs. So that kind of sums it up, and we'll get that into minutes here shortly.
Thank you, Jamie. The next finance meeting is?
I believe the next finance meeting is the first meeting of October.
Okay.
So
October 7th.
Yeah, and policy is also October 7th. Finance is at 3:45 and policy is at 4:45.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie.
Yep, thanks.
I don't think any other committees have met. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So, Jake, you want to give your student council report?
Yeah, the student council, we still have not met as a group yet, but we were going to draw some chalk and stuff for the freshmen, make some posters because they're going to the school tomorrow to pick up supplies or something. But we couldn't do that because it rained today. So that's all.
Yep. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Best intentions.
No new business. So old business. Tom, opening of school update.
Thank you. So it's certainly been very, very interesting. We have a little update from each of our departments here that I'll just read. Hold on just a moment. So at the high school, student schedules were mailed home last week. Included was a letter from the school counseling department with information on how to read the schedule and how to make requests for changes if needed using an online form. The first day of school will be September 8th for all high school students. And of course, that will be remote. Seacoast School of Technology will start on September 10th. They are using an in-person format. Sanborn will be providing transportation to the SST for students who need it. And we're currently working with a bus company to finalize plans for this. The distribution of parking passes will be handled differently this fall due to the limited parking spots available for student use and the fact that we're in remote learning until October 15th. Parking pass information will be made available to students and families in late September. At this time, no passes are being distributed to students. On Thursday, September 3rd, the school will host a virtual Meet the Teacher event from 3:30 to 6:05 p.m. Parents and guardians will have the opportunity with their children to attend a 15-minute Zoom meetings with teachers for each of their classes, and Zoom links will be emailed to students by Mr. Stack on the morning of the event. For the middle school staff are utilizing the professional development days to focus on the workshop model for remote learning. And that will be, they're really working on enhancing staff and student interactions. The structure will include a pre-recorded mini lesson, breakout rooms, and a wrap-up. Students will be rotating through various activities while practicing their skills for mastery. Our Meet the Teacher event took place on Thursday, August 27th. Students were able to meet all of their teachers while collecting a variety of materials, including schedules, art supplies, and technology. It was wonderful to see so many of the students excited to meet their new team of teachers. Our school counselor, Megan Arena, has also been working on our advisory program, which will focus on the social and emotional learning of students. The goal of that program is to create personalization within the school and facilitate a small peer community of learners. A special thank you to Megan for all of her hard work on this endeavor. And finally, the principal, Mr. Rocher, would like to acknowledge the dedication and hard work that the middle school staff has put into the PD days in order to make the remote learning experience more meaningful. The Bakey School, the Bakey staff is finalizing everything these next 3 days in order to begin remote learning on September 8th for all kindergarten to grade 3 students. Our preschool program will begin September 15th. Everything our families need to receive will be distributed at our Meet the Teacher event on Wednesday, September 2nd. They're also excited to host screening for the incoming kindergarten students this week, so class lists can be finalized and teacher assignments communicated to families by the end of the day Thursday. The Memorial School staff are also using the professional development days to focus on an improved model for remote learning, establishing a foundation for the professional learning communities, and providing resources to support social and emotional learning. Additionally, the Memorial School hosted its Meet the Teacher event for families and students on Tuesday, September 1st to get their belongings for remote learning, including technology, and to have a few moments to meet the staff. A big thank you goes out to the staff for their energy, dedication, and continued flexibility in this uncertain time, as well as the custodial staff that has navigated the reorganization, summer cleaning, and the front office relocation that continues to move forward. So the Memorial front office is moving forward. We're waiting for some doors, but they're almost done. It's looking great. Special education department is working on contacting all parents and guardians of students IEP plans to determine services will look like, regardless of whether the student is receiving remote services, in-person services, or a mixture of both remote and in-person. All these decisions are being made based on the individual student's needs. Remote services will start next week, September 8th, and in-person services will begin the following week on September 15th. At this point, every parent and guardian should have received a letter from the school district regarding compensatory services for students with IEPs per the governor's emergency order number 48. Please complete the form if you've not already done so and send it back to the SAU office. If you've not received this letter, please contact Kim Murphy. And you can just call the central office if you need any help with that. The business office is working on closing out the summer projects, determining year-end financial balances, and next year's budget and CIP plan. I think it's also important for everyone to realize that the business office is also making sure that we have enough PPE and cleaning supplies and whatnot, as I mentioned in my update earlier in the meeting. The athletics program is working hard to set up a program with all the restrictions. Mr. Dawson keeps me informed regularly. He asked me to share that while many details, including the revised game schedules, are being worked out, our athletic teams are already participating in summer fitness, skill building activities, and full-on practice. Full-on practice and tryouts will start September 8th for the high school, with the middle school team starting on the 10th. The tech department, I just want to personally thank the tech department. They have gone above and beyond. We purchased new laptops last spring at the end of the year for staff, And they finished the week. They've gotten all of those computers out. They finished the week provisioning Chromebooks and iPads for grades K-9. Over 1,000 devices were reset, tested, and sent off to schools for remote learning. There has been no update on the shipment from Dell for the new Chromebooks that have been purchased with the district's COVID grant funding from the CARES Act. We got in on that really, really early, and we're hoping to have them by early November or December. But there's so many places buying computers, it's really, really hard. Brand new laptops are continuing to be deployed for all teachers at each school. Help desk has been in full force with staff returning last week, and the department will be pausing all projects for the next few weeks to assist staff, parents, and students with any issues that arise with the start of remote learning. And I just want to say on behalf of the administration, our new tech director, Gordon Parks, has done an amazing job. He has creatively solved problems around getting the bandwidth at the schools to be wider to support the remote instruction from the buildings. And he has done a really fantastic job handling everything. We couldn't be more grateful for his team's efforts. That concludes the opening year. I have to say that I'm missing my first day of school bus ride. I love that every year. And even with my health issues last year, I made it down here to ride the bus with those kindergarten kids like I do every year. And the minute that we have in-person school, I'm getting my bus ride. So it's not over yet. All right, that concludes my update, Mr. Baker. Thank you.
Regarding that, the bus ride and the potential reopening of the school, I just want to affirm that you said one of the data points that we'll be looking at is schools that are opening or have opened and what the impact of COVID has on their experience, and we'll be tracking that. Is that
I think
right?
From my perspective, that's one of the most important data points, because we want to look at the schools around us that have opened and see what works, what doesn't work, and then use that information to help guide our process. So I certainly think that that's very important information, and our administrators are talking regularly with their colleagues in other districts. So I expect that to be pretty readily available information, Mr. Baker.
Okay, and you'll provide that to the school board.
Absolutely, absolutely. That all of that will be a part of, I'm assuming, and that can be a mistake, but we are planning to make a recommendation probably at the October 7th board meeting would make the most sense, as I said in my letter that I read earlier, because that will give us enough time to be ready. But I certainly expect to have some conversations with the administrators. We're already talking about it, right? So I don't want anyone to think that we're waiting until October 7th to start working. We're working on this now. So I just want everyone to understand that. And again, I can't stress enough, the problem is not the number of local COVID cases. The problem is the leave afforded to people by the federal government. That is the problem. And it's the problem for many school districts. The other problem is that the school districts around us are not in school, or they're in school only 2 days a week. So people are having childcare problems on the other 3 days. It is very complex, but ultimately we'll have to do what's best for Sanborn when it's time. And we have taken a fantastic step forward by having all the staff in the buildings ready to go for when we're ready to bring kids back. I'm very optimistic at this point, but I do think it's important for all of us to reflect on the information that you're requesting, Jim, is what happens around us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
YMCA remote learning.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you all an update because the board had asked me or authorized me to work with the YMCA. I did spend a lot of time working with the YMCA, and they are offering a program. And just for the public to understand that what we've done is we've worked with them to create a space for them to run their program out of. So thankfully, one of our administrators said, well, had you thought about the back half of the middle school? Because the SLC only rented the front half of the middle school. And so we went to the back half of the middle school with the YMCA, and they were thrilled. They said it would be an excellent space for them to run a program. And they are actually interested in talking with us about running a childcare program there after the COVID crisis, because it's such a great location for them, for younger students, right? The YMCA is taking pre-registrations at this point. We worked really hard to try to get the rate down, and the rate at this time is going to be $200 per week for one child, but they are giving a steep sliding scale for if you have more than one child. So what's happening is the YMCA is receiving uh, um, requests through their website. And right now, when people go in there to put in, it just says wait list because the program hasn't started yet. They're hiring staff and they're getting moving. And they've also sent Matt and I a very reasonable and simple MOU that basically says that they'll run the program during COVID. If they want to do something longer, we're going to reach out to the board, and that'd be a bigger conversation, right? But right now, we're looking at an option for them to use the space in the back half of the middle school for the school year. Some people have made some pretty interesting comments about things like, well, why is the middle school good enough for them, but it wasn't good enough for us? And I just want to make sure everyone understands that there's no compliance issue. As I've said many times, the middle school is a functioning building that is safe for use. If we were going to use it for another 8 to 10 years, it needed a major update. But to use it for this school year is totally reasonable and it's totally usable. They said that it's much better than many spaces that they run programs out of. So they're really happy about the location, which is wonderful for our families because we don't have a lot of local daycare. The other part of it is that it's important for everyone to recognize that it is a socially distanced remote learning support program. So the YMCA program is designed to provide socially distanced kitchen table experiences for kids that can't have that at home because their families don't have someone for their kids to go with. This should not be a place for parents to send their kids because they want them to socialize. This program is designed for people who are essential workers such as fire, police, post office, education, nursing, and doctors that don't have childcare for their children. We are only starting with a pre-K 6 program. If they get enough staff and enough students, they may want to expand. And the other two spaces that we identified were the Swayze Gym, and another space that we identified that they could offer support out of is the cafeteria at the high school. So we're having conversations, but they wanted to start with what they could staff, which is the location at the middle school. Dr. Haynes, did I cover the core? Is there anything you can think of that I missed on that?
I think that covers all the different facets of it. Yeah, I think we're
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think it's important for everyone to remember. If you have questions about the YMCA, email YMCA. We're not running the program. We're just giving them a space to house it. We are trying to help families. So I have been working with a number of organizations, and so has the YMCA, to try to lower the cost. So the first thing that we did was we contacted Jean Shaheen. That happened through the YMCA, to try to find out if some of the COVID monies could be used to help families that need childcare due to, even if we go to 2 days a week, people are still going to need 3 days a week of childcare. So the cost is significant, regardless of whether or not Sanborn is in remote or partially in person. So I think it's really important to recognize that this is a program that's supposed to help people to be able to go to work, but it is really expensive right now. And the YMCA and I have also reached out to Commissioner Edelblue to see if he could spare some funds to help offset it. And he has contacted the governor. And then in addition to that money, we've also reached out to Mr. Turmel at the New Hampshire
Charitable Foundation.
And he is also looking into money. The last option would be for folks to band together and do some kind of a GoFundMe or fundraising to help families in need. And I just want to say to all the community, there are kids and families that really need this childcare. And if there was ever a time that those of us who can contribute something could come together and help offset the cost, the Y tried really hard to lower the price below $200 a week. They can't afford to pay the people to run the program. We talked for a week. So the question really becomes, how do we subsidize it? And I just want everyone to know that I'm personally working really hard on this myself, because I know that there are some families that really need this. So Patty and I will be in touch, and we certainly would welcome anyone from the community who would be willing to organize fundraising or support for this. We just don't feel it's appropriate for the district to organize it, but we're certainly willing to work collaboratively with anyone who wants to help.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Bob Dawson's next, but I don't see him on the,
Mr. Dawson needed to go to his to pick up his daughter in Boston. So I
okay,
apologize. He gave me the athletics update as part of my document that I read earlier.
all right. So we're all set on that.
We are.
Okay, and the next one is medical supplies update, Matt.
We met with the nurses this past week. We wanted to show them where all the PPE supplies were and how to access them. We also distributed some surgical masks, isolation gowns, face shields, goggles to the school nurse. We also put out cleaning wipes, sanitizer, and ways of applying the sanitizer to all the classrooms in the district. And actually, based upon the usage of the cleaning wipes for this past week, we're going to have to increase our supply of wipes. I put in an order yesterday for about 100-day supply of wipes for that we're going to be handing out for teacher use. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
yes,
Back on the athletics update item, there's the document in our folder, and it looked like Mr. Dawson needed some discussions on a few
Oh, thank
things.
you.
I make sure.
Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can reach him.
He's listed 3 items in this document, and it looks like he was looking for
Guidance.
from us. Yeah.
If he's not, I will have him on the next agenda for sure. But I'm asking him now, so let's keep going. And if I can get a hold of him, I don't know if something happened with his picking up of his daughter, but he did reach out to me, and I thought that he wasn't going to be able to attend the meeting.
yeah, so he was looking for a discussion of extending the playing options based on meeting somewhere in the middle at neutral schools, I think.
That was one of those.
That's one, yeah.
That is one of them, yes. Jim, can you read it off? I'm trying to get him on here.
Yeah, it's, I'm looking at my Chromebook here. I'm gonna blow it up a little, okay. Based on multiple Zoom calls and emails over the last few weeks, it is apparent that many schools are going to limit spectator games. Some will allow unlimited fans, in parentheses, got rare. Many are considering a families only policy, in parentheses, common, and others will ban fans altogether, in parentheses, also rare. Would be my proposal, we limit spectators at the contest to parents/guardians only. I'm prepared to make tickets to identify to the parents of each of our school athletes for use at home and away games. I would, of course, take into consideration individual family situations that arise. While this may create a bit of a supervision issue at home games, I'm willing to take that on. So that was item 1. 2 is I anticipate that we may request and also receive requests to share fields. I envision a scenario where at school 20 miles to our east might want to schedule a soccer game against a school 20 minutes to our west. Each school involved might be travel restricted as we are, but by meeting in the middle, then we can play. It would be my recommendation that we allow that to occur, and that I can schedule games in the same manner at neutral locations. In scrimmage and jamboree situations, preseason as well as the tournament times. Teams playing at neutral sites is common. The teams using our facility would be responsible for additional expenses we might incur, of course. And then 3, given our restricted travel time / distance, I would like the board's thoughts on how many student athletes should or should not be on a bus at any one time. Obviously, masks will be required at all times. The bus companies will tell me that they can, the bus companies tell me that they can handle on a 1 student per seat basis, 25 students per bus. This leaves the seat between the driver empty and limits the kids / coaches to 1 athlete per seat. We can also zigzag the kids, which would reduce it to 13 per bus. That will be enough for golf, but not work for football. I'd recommend that we go with no more than 25 student athletes and coaches on the bus at any one time, with the requirements the windows be at least slightly open when possible for safety. That was it.
So if the board's comfortable with it, I am fine with letting Mr. Dawson handle these items and make the decisions. The budget is the problem with the busing. If we do every other seat zigzagging, we're doubling the busing. And the part I don't have with me was the ability to tell you what that cost would be, which I knew Jamie would ask. So I just wanted everyone to know that, Mr. Dawson understands his budget and what he needs to do, and I can work with him. And if you guys could give me permission to just let Bob make decisions based on safety, I think that I don't really, if we follow CDC guidelines, we should have every other seat in a bus filled. The reality is that if you're sitting on a bus with a mask and the windows open and people aren't touching each other, you're probably okay with 1 per seat. I think this would be good also to know for SST busing, because if we knew in the SST bus that we could put 1 per seat, that would be fine. Busing is going to be an issue that we're going to have to discuss in the future with the reopening plans anyway. So if any of you would like to chime in about your thoughts on the busing, I'm open to feedback and managing it.
Amy.
So my thought process for the athletics first, we challenged, chartered, however you want to frame it, Bob, in the last meeting to go ahead and get this thing started. And I think that inherent in that direction is to support his recommendations as we go forward. So I'm comfortable with all of them, including the bus, for a grander discussion of busing. I think 1 per seat, and kids facing forward, 1 per seat is going to be fine. I don't perceive that as being a risk factor or threatening, particularly in communities that have no cases. So I'm okay with his recommendations and specific to athletics. Tom, to your statement about your thoughts about busing, those would be my thoughts on busing.
Thank you.
Tammy.
I have a question on, I think you said in your report earlier that our insurance company is, I don't know about, it sounded like they were requiring us to go adhere to the CDC guidelines. And I think that you just said that 1 student per seat does not adhere to those guidelines.
So it's really complicated because what the insurance company is saying is that our plans need to conform with the different organizations that are giving us feedback. So the CDC, the AAP, hey, can I ask everyone a quick question? Could everyone mute if you're not talking? Because I think the people out in the public are getting some kind of feedback that's making it hard to hear. So if you're not talking, could you mute yourself? Sorry, Gordon, is that hard for you? I think Gordon's still there, but anyway, yeah, Gordon, is that hard for you if everyone mutes?
No, I'll turn the setting off and just keep an eye on it.
All right, thanks, Gordon.
Yep.
Oh, geez, I was saying all those nice things about Gordon earlier and I forgot he was on the meeting. That's great. I'm glad you heard that, Gordon.
Appreciated it all, Tom.
Yeah, no, you've worked really hard. You deserved it. So look, if you're sitting on a bus and you remember that 6 feet of social distancing is required if you're not wearing a mask. If you're wearing a mask, being closer than 6 feet is okay. I think that the question is, I hate to say this way, but I'm going to, where does it stop? Where do we where does it become so cost ineffective that it's just not worth it? I think that sports are optional, that we've said that we're having full sports because sports are optional and allowing students to make that decision. If students can't keep their hands to themselves and not be in each other's physical space on a bus, then they'll be asked not to ride the bus. They won't be allowed. You know what I mean? It's going to be really strict. So, Tammy, I think the answer is that it's 3 to 6 feet of social distancing. But the 6 feet or more is for when you don't have a mask on. So if you're in a science lab and you're both wearing a mask and you're both wearing your latex gloves, you're going to be a foot from each other working on a science lab in school, right? But you've got your mask on. And it also depends on the prolonged proximity. So if you're close to someone for 2 hours on a bus, we're only doing 25 miles or 22 miles. So the bus rides are going to be relatively short. Do I know the answer to this perfectly? Absolutely not. None of us do. Even our lawyers are saying, we don't know. We're just going to tell you what you think the best choice is based on the information that we have. It's so unprecedented. Tammy, you have your hand up again?
I would think that if you had a kid in each seat, one sat next to the window and the one in front of him sat next to the aisle, and then the one in front of him sat next to the seat, that'd be quite a bit of spacing. Tammy, go ahead.
That would be logical.
So I just wanted to finish off and agree. I agree with Jamie that I'm comfortable also letting Mr. Dawson make these decisions, provided, you know, we're covered under not violating anything our insurance company requires.
Thank you. Oh, Jim's muted.
Dawn, sorry.
Thank you, Jim. I agree. I agree with Tammy and Jamie. I think leaving it up to Mr. Dawson is perfectly acceptable. And I wanted to, I guess it's a question, comment, I'm not sure. I know previously in the budget for busing, we had quite a bit of money in there, I am guessing, for when we used to have to transport the middle schoolers to different fields just for home practices and such. If that money is still there, we should be able to use that to account for some of the extra busing, maybe for football and such, because we're not going to have to make those short trips back and forth all the time.
I would assume that. Go ahead, Matt. No, go ahead. Matt's been all on the busing.
Yeah, the superintendent and I have been working with the school bus company right now to talk about different funding options. We don't really have anything to report at this time.
Except that my exact words to Matt were, we're already paying for the busing and we're not using it in the morning or the afternoon, so we're not paying them anymore.
To tell them we don't mind donations.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
It'll be considered favorably in the next round, next contract rounds. Anything else on that? So I guess we're in agreement that Bob can go ahead and pursue those proposals.
Could you just give a vote saying that you know, based on what you read from Bob, that the board authorizes Bob to make decisions about transportation and the location of games?
Okay, so let's move that motion.
So moved.
Second. Okay.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Larry? Oh, Larry, you're muted. Am I muted? No.
No, we can hear you.
You're muted, Larry.
Yes.
Okay. Dawn
Yes.
and Tammy,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Pete. Pete's muted. Pete,
Yes, I thought I said yes, sorry.
okay. And I'm a yes. Okay, so
Thank you,
That's it.
Tammy Mahoney. Thank you, Tammy Mahoney, for, thank you. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so the next meeting is Wednesday, September 19th. if you have items you want on the agenda, please get them to Tom by the Wednesday before that, which I believe is the 9th. Next Sanborn Regional School meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. A public hearing will begin at 6:30 p.m. to approve a $10,000 donation from New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. This meeting will take place in the Sanborn Regional High School auditorium. And at this time, I'd like to open a discussion amongst the board on whether we should continue remote meetings or restart in-person meetings. So anyone who'd like to, yeah, Jamie.
So yeah, I think it's well past the time to have public meetings again. I think that we should be meeting in person. For those that aren't able to meet in person, they have still the remote option is there. Gordon's done a very nice job with that, so that accommodates everything. And I think it's time for us to get back. We've asked the teachers to come back. I think we should be marching in lockstep with that as a board. That'd be my position.
Okay. Jamie?
I'm getting feedback here. I am not saying that I don't think that we should speak public. I approach this sort of from a different angle. When I was reading originally, when we were looking at our reopening plan, if we were to have reopened in-person learning, even on a hybrid model, one of the stipulations was that there would be no visitors. And my first thought when I read that really was, what's the impact on our board meetings? Because the intent of that, having no visitors allowed in the buildings, is to reduce the, number of unknown possibilities of transmission. And there are a number of us without the public that may be attending our meetings, there are a number of us that are, either in attendance or supporting our meetings. That's a fair number of people. I guess I'm a little concerned at the staff reaction if we start, depending on where we decide to meet. I'm assuming that we're talking about meeting at the high school, and I'm just a little concerned that having a number of people visiting the building every 2 weeks, what that might introduce and the level of comfort that the staff might have with that. Given that we have asked them to come back and work in the building, we've told them that they need to come back and work in the buildings. I want them to feel as comfortable as possible at the outset, at least. So I have a little bit of hesitation supporting that proposal at this time, not perpetuity, but just right now.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Pete.
Yeah, I like what Tammy said. I think it's minimal, but I got to tell you, at my age, with my low immune system, my diabetes, and my heart attack, personally, I mean, I'll go to the high school if that's what you want, but I would prefer to stay here. And I also, maybe it's just a feeling, there's no numbers on this, but I almost think, although we could certainly do it from the school, I think more people are watching us here than they might even watch us at the school. I also think sitting there with a mask on versus seeing the verbal expressions, and I'm a very visual person, I think it's kind of more productive if we can see each other versus having somebody with a mask on, even though we're going to be socially distancing. And I agree with Tammy that although it's, cost benefit risk is minimal, but the cost could be significant. So why would we do it if we don't really have to? Why take the chance?
Don.
Jim, I have to go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you, Larry. Don.
I have to agree with Tammy and Pete. I have those conditions that you're not supposed to be out. I've been instructed by 2 doctors not to get into a crowd. and not to put myself into a situation such as that. The comment that was made to me by the doctors is, you can go, and then we'll have to go, because they didn't give me a chance at all. So if you decide to go in face to face, I'm going to have to sit there and say, no, I can't do it. I will
Getting
not.
old ain't for, getting old ain't for sissies.
That's correct.
I would think that we would continue the Zoom meetings, to Pete's point, that many people are able to watch us through the Zoom meetings. So anybody that has a situation where they wouldn't be able to meet publicly would have that option. But Dawn?
So I was ready to support what Jamie was saying, going back, doing the meetings in person. But I am glad that Tammy did bring that point up, because none of us want to make the teachers uncomfortable. And I also don't want to make Larry or Pete or anyone who is, immunocompromised uncomfortable in being in that situation either. So I guess my question is, if we were to have two of our board members via remote, if the rest of us were willing to be in person, is that acceptable? Can that be done? Is it still considered a legal meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then my next suggestion would be, or question, I guess, can we do it at Swayze? Can we put the board members on the stage and set up chairs spaced out in the Swayze gym? And that doesn't put any people into the buildings that the staff members are in. I don't know, it's just a thought, because I think parents would like to be able to give live public comment. Taxpayers would like to be able to do live public comment, and they don't feel like they're being heard. So I would like them to feel that they are heard. I would love to continue live streaming these events for anyone who doesn't feel comfortable coming in. So I think we can kind of maybe meet in the middle somewhere and find a way to make everybody happy. I don't know. I guess, Tom, is it possible, or Matt, is it possible to use a place like the Swayze gym?
I don't know about the internet connectivity, so I'd have to turn that over to Matt and Gordon.
Yeah, there's no internet at Swayze Gym right now. And then we've had some requests to use the gym. I'm in discussion with Bob Dawson about athletics and how that's going to affect the gym. And then if we go to in-person learning, I'm going to have to store tables at Swayze Gym. So
what about the cafeteria at the high school? Is there going to be a bunch of staff in there? We have doors in and out directly from the outside. Would that be a possibility? I don't know. I'm throwing ideas out there.
I think that it's really hard from a technical perspective to stream. So all the equipment's at the high school, the big screen, the cameras, and all the items that we need to do this. I really think that we should either do it at the high school at the auditorium where we can provide with social distancing, or we should do it remote. And Dawn, I'm not saying, I appreciate your ideas. They're great ideas. I just think that it's really hard for Gordon does a really good job with this, but I know what he's gone through to get this to work, even when one person is remote at a board meeting. But if we have a couple that are remote, Larry and Pete, or if if Jim and Larry are remote, it would be really hard to do that in another location besides the high school. And the reason why I'm not asking Gordon is because Gordon's a new employee and I don't want to put him on the spot, so I'm just calling it for him.
That's fine. And I'm just trying to throw ideas out there to come up with an alternative solution.
Yep.
What I'm wondering is if the administration or Tom and Matt could come up with a proposal on how we could meet in person and what would be the most effective and cost effective and safest way to do it.
I can tell you now that the best way to do it is the way we did in the auditorium.
Okay.
That's the most cost effective but most importantly, it's the safest, because people can sit in groups away from one another in the auditorium, and they can work on social distancing. But I think that it's really important to recognize that the tech part of it is a trick.
Right. Okay, Tammy?
So I just want to point out that the auditorium is not in a bubble. unfortunately, like some of the other suggestions. People have to walk through, and they're going to be using the bathrooms. We can't guarantee that they're going to keep their masks on in the bathrooms. We couldn't even we didn't have everyone keep their mask on at the meeting we had in the auditorium. People were taking them off. So and what was nice about when the auditorium is that it was at the end of July, and there were not a lot of staff using the building, and there was plenty of time for it to be cleaned. I'm just saying, I don't want to seem like I don't want to meet in public, because I'm perfectly willing to come in and meet. I do also think that Pete made a really good point about body language and facial expressions, and that is more difficult when you're wearing a mask, but I'm willing to do it. I just, we have staff that we are requiring to be in the building, and I feel like it's not fair to them to invite visitors in the building. We're violating our own standard. I just, that's okay. Thank you. I'm done.
Jamie.
Yeah, just to re-comment on it. So I'm comfortable doing it. I would repeat, as Don had said, those that are not comfortable doing it, by all means, should not come in. I'm not suggesting anybody come in for it that isn't comfortable doing it. That would not be right. I'd also say, as maybe a compromise position, the subcommittees could still do Zoom, and then only the school board meet in public, and then nobody is coming into the building until 6 o'clock, as opposed to 3:45. So by then, the staff has exited the building, and then you just have to have the maintenance crew do the cleanup afterwards when people are coming through, when they leave. So I still think it's manageable. I think it's important. People are commenting on a regular basis about, they don't get a chance to comment. We point out that, well, you can write a letter, etc. But these are people's families that are being impacted, and they feel, and they do have a right to be able to come to a meeting, and we have provided by policy an ability to comment, and people want to be able to comment about the decisions that we're making that are impacting their family. So again, I support going public, and those that aren't comfortable doing that, then by all means they stay remote. I like the idea of continuing to Zoom also, but I would advocate for that.
Dawn.
I would just like to add, I completely understand what Tammy and Pete are saying about making sure our staff is comfortable. But like Jamie said, if we're not meeting until 6 p.m., I would assume that the good majority, if not all, of the staff are gone at that point in time. And when we voted on sports, we voted differently than remote learning, because you're not sitting, you have to be within a close proximity for a certain amount of time to transmit the virus. And the virus only lasts for so long in the air. So if we can have the custodial staff come in after the meeting, it should be perfectly safe for the staff the next morning. Unless I'm mistaken on my facts about transmission. But I feel like, given the amount of time between when everybody will be leaving and the teachers will be coming in the next day and having, the custodial staff clean, I think that it should be safe. And I don't believe that there's a huge issue with transmission on surfaces like they originally thought. So just throwing those points out there that, we do want to consider, our staff and think about our staff, but I also think that, we need to look at the facts on how it spread and, take that into account as well.
Yep, Tom.
I think that the staff would appreciate seeing the board meet in person if we're asking them to come into the schools in person. I understand if you vote otherwise. I support, I'll make it work. But I think that if we have people come in through the main entrance and they use the bathrooms right outside, and we clean them that night afterward, and we have people socially distanced in the auditorium, I totally acknowledge and agree with Tammy's point, though, that we made it very clear to people that if we had people in the school building, that there would be no guests or visitors to the school building to protect staff safety. And that, I just want to bring that point back to the forefront, that it's not an unwillingness by members of the board or the community to meet in person. We're trying to be respectful of people's safety. And so whatever the board chooses, I'll make it work. I mean, it certainly from a personal level, I'd rather have people just show up and say what they have to say than read those letters and try to communicate with everyone over email, but I'll do it for y'all if it's the right thing to do, you know? I think that Gordon could stream Larry if we need to, right, Larry, to keep you safe. So if we met in person, we can handle that. And Jim, until you return, we can do the same. So it's not a problem. So I just don't want anyone to I want people to make a decision based on what will work for what we need to support our teachers and communities, not the technical end. It's hard to do it in a different location. We can do it if we have internet access, but it's better if we can. I just don't want you to worry about all that, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm in support of meeting face to face. I don't recall on the 29th when we met in the auditorium, did we wear masks? We were far enough apart where we didn't.
Oh, yeah, we were
We
masks.
did?
We did,
Okay.
but if people are on the stage and they're more than 6 feet socially distanced, the CDC
Right.
does not require you to wear a mask, and we can set it up so that everyone is 6 feet socially distanced, and Gordon can stream it so that people can see.
All right.
That can't
So-
be right. We can have Gordon do a live stream. So Pete's
Yeah,
concern.
so if we're meeting at 6 o'clock, the subcommittees continue to meet remotely, and we come in through the main doors and go to the auditorium. I think the public would have to understand that there would be limited seating, just like there was for that meeting on the 29th. It's not like a deliberative session where you can pack the house. And we have the Zoom option, and we have the YouTube as well. So, people can make their choice, just like with athletics. I think it's a good idea. I think the teachers are coming back to school. I guess if there's a huge concern because of the school board's meeting and there might be members of the public in, we would have to revisit that, but I would be for meeting in public.
Jim?
So, yeah, Tammy.
Oh, did Charlie have?
Jim.
Oh, Charlie? Yep.
Hey, Jim, I've been out of the picture since you turned around and had the problem with the noise in the back.
Okay.
It says on my screen, please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon.
Well, you're here now.
We can
I-
see you
Yeah,
I
we can
can't
see
hear
you.
you.
and hear you.
I can't see none of you.
Okay,
There
that's,
we go.
if you go in the upper right corner of your picture, you'll see 3 dots, 3 horizontal dots. Click on that and it might say open video.
Oh, come up. App snap reload.
Well, we're at the end
Fine,
of the
Charlie.
meeting. What's that?
So we can see him fine.
Yeah, we can see you, Charlie. We can hear you. You can hear us, right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine,
You just can't see yourself.
but I'm trying not to talk over anybody.
Okay, no, go ahead.
But anyway, I just soon meet at the school. We're asking the teachers to go in. We should go in as well.
Okay. Thank you. Tammy?
Okay, so 2 things. If Tom, if you feel that the staff is comfortable, like I said, I'm perfectly willing to come in. I did want to point out, however, that on the subcommittee discussion, it's not quite as simple as we'll meet by Zoom, at least not if we're continuing to meet on Wednesdays, because some of our meetings go practically right up to 6 o'clock. It's only quarter of. It's assumed that some of our meetings are going to end at 5:45. So that's not enough time for someone to get in their car necessarily and drive to the school for 6 o'clock.
A fair
So-
point. We'll have to reschedule. Yeah.
To meet by Zoom, we might have to look at maybe a different night.
Or we can adjust too. We can figure it out.
Fair point.
Yeah, just
Any-
a
Yeah,
good
Pete.
example, if I can, with the other chairman of the committee I'm on, tonight we ended about 4:45. If I were at a subcommittee meeting, that gives me an hour and 15 minutes to cool my heels or come home. By the time I get home, I got to turn around and go back. So maybe we can schedule ours a little bit later, so that we don't have that hour plus time of dead time between when the committee meeting ends and the school board meeting begins.
Pete, now that we've
I'm
got,
just bringing it up. That's all. It's not a big thing. I mean, yeah.
no, thanks, but we've got a bunch of new subcommittee members, and when I make that schedule, it's like this really weird jigsaw matrix to make it all work.
Yeah.
I might be able to double some up or make it work. Let me take a look at it tomorrow and I'll get back to you all.
I don't care about the others. I just care about mine.
I know, Pete. At least you're honest about it.
All right, so can I get a motion on whether we're on meeting face to face?
I move that we move the school board meeting into the public with the intent of having the subcommittee meetings continue in Zoom, and we will relook at that scheduling.
Second.
All right. All in favor, starting with Dawn
Yes.
and Jamie,
Aye.
Tammy,
Yes.
Charlie,
Aye.
Pete,
Yeah, yeah, aye. It doesn't matter.
okay, Larry,
I'm going to have to say no.
okay, and I for myself as well. All right, so now that concludes our meeting, public meeting. Now we have a non-public. Larry, can you do the honors?
I most certainly can. Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into non-public session for RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2.
Okay, a second on that?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Dawn,
Roll call vote.
yeah, Dawn,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Jamie,
Aye.
Charlie,
Yes.
Pete,
Yep.
and yes for me.